The CARICOM single market and economy is definitely up now on Now. This morning, I'm chatting with Ambassador Her Excellency Deborah Lewis, the Director of External Affairs for the National CSME Focal Point from Montserrat. And also this morning, I'm chatting with Joanne Brooks, who's the head of the CSME unit and National CSME Focal Point, TT. Good morning to you ladies and welcome to the show.
Good morning, and thank you for having us.
Not a problem at all. All right, so let me start with you, Joanne Brooks. Tell us exactly what is the CARICOM single market and economy?
Okay, the CSME, CARICOM Single Market and Economy, it's just that. It's CARICOM member states coming together under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas and creating a single economic space for the development of our economies. So there are 5 pillars to the CSME. It's the free movement of goods, services, labor, and the right of establishment. Sorry, also capital and the right of establishment.
All right. So we have this single market economy that we want to be able to push and say that the entire Caribbean is coming together as one.
Yes.
And we have now the Focal Points Attachment Program. Can you describe to me, Ambassador, what is the Focal Points Attachment Program all about?
So the attachment program is part of a wider public campaign to bring more attention to the CARICOM single market and economy, its benefits, and some of the things that we'll be doing in each member state to advance to have a deeper integration.
And can I just add also that the program was launched in March 2023 by Dr. Carla Barnett, the Secretary General of CARICOM, and it was launched under the CARICOM Skilled Workers Program under the title Strengthening the Framework for CARICOM Integration and Cooperation. It's funded by the 11th EDF. The European Union has been steadfast partners in our integration process, and it has 4 phases. The first phase began with the exchange or the attachment of secondary school teachers.
Okay.
Trinidad and Tobago, we participated in that through the Ministry of Education and facilitated by the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, because the curriculum is very important, that secondary school and at all levels of education, that it's inculcated that we are one region, we are integrating, and we are doing it for the economic and social benefit of our citizens. So that was the first phase. The second,
How would you say that first phase went, though?
Oh, excellent. I actually participated in it as well. We were there as observers from the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, and it was incredible. We went to schools in the South. I know QRC also participated, and the students were so much involved, invigorated. We actually sat in on classes where they spoke about the CARICOM single market and economy, and I was quite pleased on how excited they were and how much they knew about it already.
Nice.
So that's important, that knowledge transfer is an important part of it. The second phase is what we're doing now. It's the CSME attachment program. So that's where the focal points are coming together, because there was a recognition that we needed to know more about each other's processes, exchange best practices, speak about the challenges that we face and how we could jointly overcome them. And so I'll speak later about our program in Trinidad and Tobago, which is going on as we speak. We are in the 3rd day. Now the third phase would be the exchange of border control officials, so immigration officials, customs officials, because they are the gatekeepers of free movement.
When you say exchange, what do you mean by that?
Right. So, for instance, for our program, I went to Belize to observe how they implement CSME.
Okay.
So and then we are now hosting 5 focal points in Trinidad. So we will have our immigration officers go to a host member state.
Okay.
All right.
So it's more exchange for education than anything else.
So we had 4 cohorts going to 4 different member states. Trinidad is the last cohort, but we had Belize, we had Guyana, and Barbados.
And Barbados.
Right.
It started in Barbados.
Yes, so we're really here just to see how the implementation is going in Trinidad as they have in the other member states, and to share information about how we are implementing it in our respective member states. That enables us to have like a self-assessment of our strengths, the challenges and the gaps, so that we're able to supplement.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me, how did it go in the other places in Belize and Barbados? How did it go in terms of what some of the things that stood out to you guys that are some of the strengths and some of the challenges?
Right. Well, for me, I went to Belize. You know, context is very important when you're talking about integration. So Belize is on a continent.
Right.
They have porous borders with Latin American countries. So that was something as an island we don't
Take into
we don't take
consideration,
into consideration. So when they're speaking about challenges, they're also part of CICA. And so while they're seeking closer integration with CARICOM, they're also seeking closer integration with CICA.
Okay.
So that's something that's different to us, for us as well in the Southern Caribbean. It was really interesting going around the various ministries like we're doing here. And they're speaking about all of the different arms of the CSME. We went to the Ministry of Finance. We were at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We went to various agencies. We visited the private sector. Up in the South, we visited schools, and they spoke about their challenges. And also it's an opportunity to educate people about the CSME. So everywhere we went, we carried that message of unity, of deepening the integration process, and that there's so much strength in our unity.
Yeah.
And the idea is that as we seek to accelerate and deepen this integration process, no country, no member state is left behind. So we're looking at how we're identifying best practices in each member state to see how we can harmonize and move forward together so that we all share equally in the benefits, or as far as possible, equally.
Yes.
Is there anybody so far you can say has been leading the way when it comes to the best practices?
I think Trinidad.
Really?
Yes, they have a very innovative and transformative process. So I would say Trinidad.
Well,
Yes.
I think I'm pleasantly happy to hear that.
Yes.
I'm really happy to hear that because oftentimes, we don't hear about the good perspective of Trinidad from outside. So we're really happy to be able to share that this morning. But speaking of Trinidad, recently we would have proclaimed the Immigration Act. I'm curious about the Immigration Amendment Act.
Yes,
How does
correct.
that affect Trinidad as it relates to the CSME?
Yes, well, when we proclaimed the act, it was because we needed to improve our implementation. Because prior to that, we only legislated for 5 categories, 5 of the 12 categories.
Okay.
So in proclaiming the Amendment Act, we are now fully compliant with the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas when it comes to the free movement regime. So we now facilitate all 12 categories. It has expanded the opportunities for people wishing to either look for work or move abroad to take up jobs.
Right.
And they can now move freely in and out without restriction, without the need for a work permit. They can move with their families and their dependents, and it just exponentially expands the opportunity. You know, we are 1.4 million people. Now they're open to a region that has 14 million people. And so they can also use the right of establishment to establish a business in any participating member state.
Right.
And, it just expands opportunities, and especially for the youth as well.
How easy is that process? How much easier is that process now to be able to move, to get up and go somewhere else in the Caribbean and
Yes.
work?
Well, right, that speaks to, in 2019, we took a decision on the advice of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Senator, the Honorable Dr. Amy Brown, that we should modernize and digitize our unit. So we took that on board. We brought in new systems for capturing data so we can better analyze and make policy decisions. We also legislated, so we brought all of our legislation up to date. And then we began to digitize. So now we have, and actually the plan was in place before COVID, and then it was accelerated during COVID.
Okay.
So it was important that we did not stop our service to the public during that time. So instead of, we were all at home, so instead we put systems in place where you can make an appointment, but you can do it from the privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
You can either have an in-person appointment, or you can call in. Okay. Someone will advise you about the CSME process, or you can do it virtually from the comfort of your home, wherever you are in the world, and you can get all the information you need about the process to put through an application.
Okay, that's fantastic that you can still do that even post.
Right, and we're moving beyond that now, because very shortly, hopefully within December, we are just putting the final touches into it. You will be able to apply for CSME skill certificate online and track it like you would an Amazon package. You can request documents, you can see exactly what part of the phase you are, so that we can better plan its predictability, and also it's strengthening that customer service element that is so important for government agencies.
We're almost out of time, but I really wanted to tell people why it's important to get that skill certificate and what are the benefits of it.
Right, yes. The skill certificates, as I said, it allows you to move freely throughout the Caribbean with your family. You can buy property, you're given national treatment in a participating member state.
Right.
And it expands opportunities. Also, let me touch on this important point for business. The business sector, as Dax Driver said in our opening ceremony, the private sector is fully on board with full and free movement. It's needed for business to grow, and so that skills can naturally migrate where they're needed.
Okay.
And if we pool our skills, then we can develop for the prosperity of all in the region.
Most definitely.
And to say also that the skill certificate builds trust. It means that the issuing authority would have gone through, an extensive vetting process, done their due diligence, and
confirmed migration as well.
Yeah. Ambassador, before we wrap, can you just let us know what does the future of the CSME look like, especially as it affects the region in particular?
So we're looking for fuller and freer movement of skills and labor, of products, capital. Whereas we have the skills certificate now, we're hoping to have more fuller movement across the region.
One of the things that I'm always seeing people complaining about when it comes to moving around the Caribbean freely is the cost of getting around the Caribbean. Are there any conversations about that, about reducing the cost of flights, of getting from one island to the next?
Transportation and logistics. That's a critical area for development.
Connectivity.
Yes, within the region.
So yes, we're discussing it. We're hoping to see if we can.
There's an ongoing project.
There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of conversation about it.
There's a lot of attention.
Well, I know the CSME focal point attachment, it goes until December 10th here in Trinidad and Tobago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're here until December 10th. Ladies, let me thank you so much for joining us this morning and for sharing some information about it, and all the best with the rest of the conference.
It was my pleasure.
It's a problem.
Thank you.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we take a quick break and we come back with more inside the Now Morning Show. The CSME focal point attachment is happening from started on December 3rd and it goes all the way to December 10th. We thank the ladies for joining us this morning. Ambassador, Her Excellency Deborah Lewis, and of course, Joanne Brooks. Thank you, ladies, so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. We take a quick break and come back with more. Stay tuned.